Another advantage of using certain Sony lenses, such as the 18-105, is that you'll have servo zoom control. As far as I know, there aren't any compatible non-Sony E-mount lenses that have servo zoom. As we saw earlier, there's a zoom rocker switch on the camera's handle, another one on the grip, and yet another one on the barrel of the lens itself. In the default mode, the zoom speed of all three controls is variable, meaning the harder you press down, the faster the focal length changes. The zoom levers on the grip and the lens can't be turned off, and you can't use the camera's menus to modify their speed. But the zoom lever on the handle is different. It can be customized by pressing the menu button, going to the Camera Paint tab, and then choosing Zoom Set, where we find three submenus. Let's skip the first two right now and go down to the bottom. Zoom Ring Rotate is currently grayed out because the 18-105 lens is not compatible with this option. This setting is only available when a lens that supports switching the direction of the zoom ring is attached. Let's select Handle Zoom, and we find two more submenus. If you don't want variable control, then you can change it to a fixed speed instead. And then there's another menu that allows you to choose the speed. The higher the number, the faster the speed. Like many settings on the camera, the choice of whether to use the variable mode or the fixed mode is just a matter of personal preference. I usually have my camera set for variable, but when I want to do a nice, smooth, slow zoom, I set it for a fixed speed of 1. I find that I can get smoother starts and stops using this combination rather than the variable mode. Now let's go back to the Zoom Type menu that we skipped past earlier. This is a new menu that I've never seen before in any professional Sony camera. And there are two choices: optical zoom only or on clear image zoom. Optical zoom only should be self-explanatory, so let's focus our attention on the other option. Clear image zoom is Sony's catchy new name for what is usually known as digital zoom on consumer cameras, and your initial reaction might be exactly like mine was. No serious professional would use this feature, so what is it doing on the FS5? Well, let's set that knee-jerk reaction aside and take a look at it before we come to any conclusions. First of all, what is it? Well, simply put, clear image zoom is a way to magnify the camera's picture electronically, thus virtually extending the focal length of any lens by up to 200% when you're shooting in HD and by 150% when you're shooting in 4K. And yes, I said any lens, because clear image zoom can even be used with prime lenses, meaning those lenses that are not zooms. Take a look at these two shots. On the left, we see the 18-105 Sony lens zoomed all the way in using optical zoom only. And on the right, we see how much closer the subject appears when clear image zoom is added on top of the optical zoom. With the clear image zoom mode turned on, watch what happens right here when I zoom into the shot using the 18-105 lens. When the lens reaches the limit of its optical zoom, you can see the display change to let us know clear image zoom has automatically kicked in, and by how much. By the way, clear image zoom can be used with any of the three zoom switches that we looked at a few minutes ago. One thing you may notice is that the transition from optical zoom to clear image zoom is fairly seamless when you're zooming in, and you may not even see it happen. But it's a different story when zooming out. Watch as the zooming will do a stutter right at the point of transition from clear image to optical. Here it is again in case you missed it. Sony claims that clear image zoom can produce images that are sharper and clearer than other digital zooms, so I decided to put it to the test. First, I compared my 25mm Cine-Xenar prime lens with clear image zoom at 2x to my 50mm Cine-Xenar prime lens without clear image zoom. These two lenses match up very well, and that's why I chose them. Now, it would have taken more time and effort than I wanted to spend in order to get the framing and exposure to match up perfectly. But as you can clearly see, as I wipe back and forth between them, the 50mm lens is sharper, crisper, and has better resolution than the 25mm lens using clear image zoom. But I must admit that it doesn't look too bad, much better than I would have expected. When I increase the scaling to 200% magnification in Premiere, the differences between them are more apparent, but still, it doesn't look too bad for a digital zoom. Here's another comparison using the same two lenses. Once again, you should be able to see the 50mm still looks better than the 25mm with clear image zoom as I wipe back and forth. The bottom line is that I believe Sony when they say that clear image zoom is superior to other digital zooms. But the question is it good enough? That's a question you'll have to answer for yourself. But I do think it probably is good enough for fast breaking news or run and gun documentaries where the inconvenience of having to stop and change lenses outweighs having a little reduced picture quality. But would I use it for a sit down interview, a product shot, or anything else where I wanted maximum quality and time was not a factor? No, I wouldn't. I would make the effort to mount a longer focal length lens.